Well, it all started with this very simple, naive, one-line idea. I want to dig wells in India. I was aware of some of the rural water problems in India. It was difficult for some of the rural farmers to stay on the land because it was not sustaining them, and they were tending to leave to the cities where they started forming these huge shanty towns. I always thought that if ever I managed to make any money, I'd go and try and dig wells in India.
The first trip is a 4-hour journey to a place called Dugwell. We are accompanied by Ashish, who runs the wells project for me and my partners, the Savitri Wani Trust.
This place, district Jhabua and surrounding districts, they are predominantly Veal tribe dominated districts. And the Veal, they are considered to be one of the poorest people in this country. Largely because, they are the kind of land that they have, this is a poor quality land. And as you can see, this is very undulating, it's a barren land and very shallow soil depth.
We arrive at the first village on our trip, and we're here to see Savagal, who is taking us to see the progress of his well. And obviously, the villagers coming along too. This is a well in its reasonably early stages of construction. So they've dug down about 15 feet, and they're still hacking away the stone from the floor of the well. This huge pile of stone here has come from that hole there, and it has been brought up by hand in 3 bowls like this by members of the family, men and women, and they've been at this now for about a month and a half. The deal is that the farmer and his family have to dig the first 3 meters themselves before the funding kicks in. This can take anything up to 30 or 40 days. And the first instalment will pay for extra labour or machinery to help with the digging. Savagal has dug beyond that, so he'll be using the money to hire in extra labour. At this time of year, if the family weren't digging the well, they'd be packing their bags and leaving for one of the big cities. Ashish will tell you why.
Family has a piece of land, but it's completely monsoon dependent and is very unreliable. They're not very sure whether they will have enough crop to sustain themselves throughout the year. So in search of basic living, these people have no other option but to migrate to other places.
This is a labour line, a common sight in Indian cities and towns. Employers will select workers for low-paid jobs on construction sites. Those that don't get work may have to resort to begging to feed the family. In some cases, the family won't even return to their farms and remain living in one of the shanty towns on the outskirts of the city. These shanties are made up almost entirely of displaced people from rural areas of India.
These people are in dire need of livelihood, and our job is basically to develop their land, provide them the water so that they can earn a decent livelihood out of it.
This is Ram Singh and his family, and they've been digging their well for 3 months. This is their shrine to the water god. They must have had a good night as they've just struck water. Doesn't look like much, but it means months of hard work have finally paid off. At this stage of the dig, they have almost reached the water table. The money from the charity enables them to hire an explosives to blast through the remaining rock and get them a step nearer to a fully functioning well.
This particular well is going to help 2 to 3 families.
So the community around here is all bound together in this project. Yes. Thanks to money from the Where There's a Well project, they've been able to hire an equipment for the day. They've drilled deep into the rock so they can plant dynamite. It's going to be a bit of an explosion. Now the hard work really begins. The rock from the blast has to be cleared to get to the water below, and they have to break the rocks into smaller pieces to get them out. The whole family muck in to help. It's back-breaking work. and the rocks are difficult to shift. Ram Singh has been given money by the project to hire a crane for the day. The crane costs 500 rupees a day. That's about the equivalent of a farmer's weekly salary. But without this funding, it would take Ram Singh months of hard work to clear the rock, and with the machinery, they can have it done in a matter of days, getting them ever closer to the water they so desperately need. We are now in a place called Ratlam, and our first port of call is to visit Nanu Ram. Nanu Ram was one of the very first farmers to sign up for the well project. He's an older farmer, and most of his money went to hiring workers to help with the construction of his well. He's had water now for just over a year. He says he's got everything he wants out of his well and more, which is brilliant because it's exactly what he wanted when we first saw him about 15 months ago. Wheat for his family, and then he will sell his vegetables. He needs his well made a bit deeper, and he will do that over the next year out of the money that he makes from his vegetables. On the next door farm, we find Bradrirat. He saw what Nanu Ram had done with his land and wanted a well of his own. He is such an enterprising man, and you can imagine, for 24 years, that man has had to tend his fields just in the monsoon crops, spend some time levelling them, spend the rest of the time with his family going out and doing migration labour. And with all that ambition inside him, and it's only when he gets his well that all this enterprise and ambition gets let out.
वो कुछ नहीं देते, जमीन को दे देते, पर बाकी ये मेहनत करके कि ये बड़े-बड़े नाले थे ये, और ये बहुत ठीक कर दिए मैंने, बहुत ठीक कर दी। अब पैसे तो है नहीं कि आपने चाहे जैसे एकदम कर सकते हैं, धीरे-धीरे मेहनत करते हैं, और जैसे ये है अब धीरे-धीरे ठीक होगा। जैसी मेहनत यहाँ रोक दी, माँ नाला बांध दिया, माँ नाला बांध दिया, वो रुकावट हो के धीरे-धीरे होती है।
He is the one who actually bothers to go and find out about seed mixing. So he has got an example of a gooseberry and something like a plum, which he's mixing into a single fruit. He really is flying, that man, and you can see it in his demeanour, in his face, and what he says to you. He's really proud of what he's done, and he should be.
क्योंकि अभी यहाँ कोई रहता भी नहीं, तो पानी नहीं था तो क्या था, कुछ भी नहीं था। पानी से बहुत लाभ मिल गया कि पूरा परिवार हम यहाँ रह सकते हैं, कमा के खा सकते हैं, किधर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, कि अपने दो पैसे यहीं मिल जाते हैं, मेहनत करते हैं तो मिलते हैं, अगर नहीं था तो कुछ मिलते भी नहीं थे, जाना पड़ता था इधर उधर मजदूरी के लिए।
This is Mul Singh and his family. He's one of 3 brothers. They all share the well provided by the charity.
हालत नहीं ये कहा कि हो जाए बिल्कुल नहीं बिना पानी से तो कहीं नहीं ऐसा अभी पानी हो गया तो इतना हाँ
Mul Singh has made a complete little oasis of his area of what was barren land. With his well, he's been very efficient in the way he's irrigated it, and again, very ambitious in the way that he has looked at new crops, new seeds which ones work. The thing about him was he was so clear. He was not having his children working on the fields. His children were going to school. That's it. By going to school and getting an education, Mul Singh and Badirat's children have been given a chance at a better quality of life. They don't have to spend their childhoods moving from place to place, living in slums, while their families work as poorly paid labourers in the towns or on other people's farms. And when they get older, the fact that they have an education means that they have the choice to stay and work on the family farm or get themselves better jobs in the bigger cities. A simple supply of water can make such a difference to the lives of these children.
कर लेंगे बच्चे को भी पढ़ने के लिए भेज देंगे, मजदूरी नहीं भेजेंगे, पढ़ने को भेज देंगे। अगर पैसे होगा तो पढ़ने को भेजेंगे, अगर नहीं होगा तो मजदूरी में तो वो तो अनपढ़ ही रहेगा। हम खुद अनपढ़ जैसे बच्चे रह जाएंगे। कि पानी है तो सब कुछ कर सकते हैं।